Hey, this is Cullen Moss, Deputy Shoupe from the Outer Banks, and I'm here talking with Elias, the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to another episode of the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to the party, pal!
You're my boy, Blue!
Yo, Adrian!
A podcast with interviews of amazing guests from the world of pop culture,
Oh, yeah!
TV,
Nice!
movies,
Oh, I love the movies!
comedy, and more. From deep inside the Man Cave, your host, Elias.
Cullen, welcome to the cave.
Hey, thank you for having me.
How are you, man? What's new with you?
Oh, just chilling through this this pandemic.
Right. How's the quarantine life treating you? I know you got two young kids, right?
I do. I've got two young ones and one older fella. I've got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and my oldest will be 17 in June.
Wow.
Yeah.
How's that going with all this?
Well, it's it's been just fine. It's been just fine, Elias.
Right.
It's look, we're lucky and counting our blessings every day for that we are able to weather this in the fashion we have been able to weather it. So the kids are as good as can be expected. Being
Right.
picked up in a house with their same boring parents for 2 months.
Yeah.
And my oldest actually he's been in Maryland with his mom. Just his school load was such that it was going to be damn near impossible for him to get everything done online with his little brothers screaming around the house. So he's wrapped up the school year in Maryland, and he's coming back here at the end of the week. But everything's been good, man.
That's
just trying to check off the boxes every day. Are they fed? Are they clothed? Okay. Moderately entertained? Sure.
Yeah. I know all about it. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, so it's been a little hectic for the last 2 months.
It hasn't it?
So, man, you've been busy for a long time in the entertainment industry, with film, TV. You've done a little voiceover too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
A
So
little bit of everything.
you've done a little bit of everything, and we recently saw you on Outer Banks, Deputy Shoupe. Man,
Absolutely.
what a ride, huh?
Yeah. Just from filming to when they dropped it on Netflix. It's it was a joy working on the show, and I think we all had an idea that that we were working on something unique and that was gonna hit more than one demographic, I think, and but nobody knew that it was gonna blow up the way it did when it dropped on Netflix. It was just.
So yeah, we'll talk back to Outer Banks first. I want the listeners to get to know a little more about you. Where are you originally from?
Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Oh, wow. Are you still in that area? Where are you these days?
No, I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, where we shot Outer Banks.
That's great.
Yeah, I grew up in Winston-Salem, moved to Wilmington, North Carolina when I was about 21 with a group of buddies interested in film, because Wilmington at the time was kind of a film mecca. It was the third biggest film production hub in the States. It is no longer, but we had a big studio. Anyway, we moved there. I was in Wilmington for like 21 years, and about 12 years ago met my wife here and she grew up in Charleston, South Carolina. Anyway, we moved here almost 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years in July.
Oh wow! So like growing up, did you have any idea that this is what you wanted to do? Get into the entertainment industry?
I didn't know. I knew I wanted to act. I knew I enjoyed acting. I knew I liked telling stories. I don't know when that clicked over to, hey, I could make a living at this. It was in the back of my mind when I moved to Wilmington. But I grew up doing theater, and so I grew up knowing that it was something I loved. Like I said, I don't know when I thought maybe I could actually do this. But it took me a while after moving to Wilmington to get up off my ass and actually engage. Um, starting off with finding the theater community there that enriched me to beyond words. I mean, Wilmington has so many good actors and good theater companies there, and so finding was just I found such growth there within the theater community, and with this I joined a comedy troupe, a sketch comedy troupe, and um, just kind of found my chops through that and through doing like independent film projects, little indie shorts and features, and then finally got an agent like 18 years ago.
So like when you were doing theater and anything, like was it always in the back of your head, back of your mind, like, okay, I know I like doing theater, but TV and film is what I want to get into?
That was the only way. I mean, yeah, it was in the back of my head for sure. And not that theater wasn't enough, I mean, theater is very fulfilling to me and still sometimes more fulfilling than working on film and television. But as a means of fiscal support, it's not that.
Yeah.
So, especially in Wilmington, North Carolina, nobody's making any money doing theater. And so you do it for the passion and the love of it. And then I knew, I was like, hey, film and television, I could do this and make money. So yeah.
How old were you when you got your first gig, and what was it?
Oh man, I was my first professional gig. It might have been 25 or 26. Yeah, 20. Yeah, I want to say 26. What was the first thing I did? I did the first thing that I auditioned for where I went in front of a real casting director, like for film and television, was a short film called The Obituary that Jay, I can't even remember his last name right now. Sorry, Jay. Jay, who worked on Dawson's Creek. This guy worked on Dawson's, and I knew him through having worked. I worked at Screen Gems at the studios there in the lighting and grip shop. So I loaded out equipment, fixed light heads and cable, and loaded out equipment for shows. And so I got to know a lot of crew members. Anyway, I got to know this guy, Jay, who came to see me in a good bit of the theater that I'd done. And he came to the comedy show that I was in all the time. And so he had written this short and approached me and said, hey, I want you to audition for this thing. And I've got the Finn Cannons casting it for me. And he said, do you have an agent? I said, no, I don't. But he was like, yeah, we'll just go into the thing. I'll set up an appointment for you to audition. So I went in the middle on my lunch break at Screen Gems. We took the golf cart over to the Finn Cannons office, which at that time they had a casting office there at the studio. And the Finn Cannons have done a lot of work in the Southeast. I mean, they're really great people and really great casting directors. And they continue to be prolific. And actually, they're the ones who cast Outer Banks and Righteous Gemstones. And
Wow.
that's it. But so I went there. I went to their office and read for this little short film. And they asked me if I had an agent, and said no. And they said, well, we're going to be casting Cold Mountain. We want you to come read for it. We think you're great. We're going to contact you. They helped me get my first agent, JTA, out of Charlotte, North Carolina, with whom I still work. And so that was it. And then maybe like the first big thing, I mean, so I got this short, I got cast in it. And then Dawson's Creek might've been the first thing. I had a little role in an episode of Dawson's Creek. And then The Notebook was shortly thereafter. And then One Tree Hill.
It's funny, like how did you like? It seems like you're like a magnum when it comes to like teen drama. All of a sudden, huh?
Yeah. that was just time and place, I guess. Wilmington, you know, we had Dawson's Creek there
Yeah.
for years, and then when they left, you know, One Tree Hill, I guess, was looking for a home, and they decided. So One Tree Hill started shooting there, and they were both CW shows, I think, or WB shows.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, so they WB already knew that, you know, that they had a nice home for Dawson's Creek there in Wilmington. So then when One Tree Hill came about, that was that worked out. But yeah, One Tree Hill was the first like kind of bigger role that I mean, I lucked into this thing, getting in on the ground floor of this show that ran for 9 seasons, and I worked every season on it. I wasn't a big character, but it was this peripheral character. I was like 27 when I got cast as what I wrote down on a piece of notebook paper: Jump McReady, 17-year-old baller. And the name was actually Junk Moretti. But anyway, I got in on that, and that was nice, and certainly opened up some doors for me.
So while I was doing some research on you, I noticed that you play a lot of cop roles also.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about my, I don't know, just like I got that fire plug build, and maybe like just my big Irish face. I don't know. There's something about it just says that's a cop right there.
Yeah. Hey, it's money, right? You get
Oh,
paid,
yeah.
so you can't complain about it.
No. Yeah, I played a lot of cops. I played a lot of rednecks. I've got, you know, and unfortunately, in a lot of like period pieces, like not a lot of good white people. So I've played my share of racists, and so I'm glad to be kind of getting out of that mold. But yeah, redneck cops, and that's me. Why not?
Right. So we mentioned Outer Banks, how did you get involved with this project? Tell us about your audition for this.
I just like so many others, it just came down the pipeline, and I think Shoupe was the only role that I read for this show, and that it came through the Finn Cannons, and you know, with almost everything, you get it through your agent. You get an email saying, hey, you're requested to read for this role, and everybody self tapes now. There's, you know, almost the first round, you tape something, you email it. So I taped one. I think they had some feedback about it, gave me another, you know, wanted me to adjust it a little bit, and I did. And I knew anyway. I knew I was, for some reason, I knew that they were considering me, but it wasn't a done deal. And there was this perfect storm of incidents that happened where I got cast in Righteous Gemstones, and I had been working on an indie feature called The Immortal Jellyfish, which it should be available to watch soon. It's a fun little movie. But I was working on this indie feature, Immortal Jellyfish, down in Alabama, and so I had to work Gemstones, and I was going to have to be in Alabama to shoot some additional scenes, like the morning after shooting Gemstones. And so we'd worked out this crazy thing where, you know, they were going to cut me a little early, and they were going to provide me with a driver and drive me straight to Gulf Shores, Alabama, you know, so to where I'd like pretty much show up right when I was supposed to start shooting this movie down there. And because I was trying to have my cake and eat it too. That's a constant struggle. You don't want to have, you know, you don't want one thing to preclude the other. I didn't want to lose either job, so I was like, I'm going to make this work. But fortunately, as we're shooting late into the night, and it was becoming apparent that I wasn't going to, somebody was going to get shortchanged. I was like, there's no way they're going to shoot me out of Gemstones in time. It's like, so either I'm going to have to bail on them before I finish, or I'm going to have to show up late to set and down in Alabama. But fortunately, I got a call from one of the producers in Alabama, and they were like, look, the weather's bad, and I was going to have to be out on a sailboat And they were like, "There's no way we're gonna get this stuff with the weather." So they canceled the shoot. So I called the Finn Cannons who'd cast gemstones, and I was like, "Hey, just let production know there's no rush and get me out of here." I was in my trailer. I was like, let them know there's no rush. The other thing canceled. No worries. I just so I hope you're not, And so when I told Lisa Mae Fincannon that, she said, "Well, great. We have a table read tomorrow for the Outer Banks. Would you be available?" And Wood Madison, she asked, my wife would be available. She's like, "Look, you'd read several roles, but you would get to read, would be a chance for you to read Deputy Shoupe again. And, the Netflix brass is going to be there, and Josh and Jonas Pate are going to be there. So, she's like, everybody's going to be there that would need to see that performance." And so it was just happenstance that I had this kind of freebie callback in front of the creators of the show and the Netflix folks. So we went to the table read, and that's what that is just like it's a way for the creators to hear something, to hear the words. It's the first time they're hearing words off the page, so they know what they got to do. And so we had the first 2 episodes that we were reading, and we got done with the first episode, and I read Shoupe and I read some other roles, and everybody was very kind and generous. And then we took a break between the two episodes and went into the green room. Everybody was grabbing a snack and a drink or something, and all the stars were in there, the kids, Chase and Rudy and Jonathan and Maddie and Chip Estim. Anyway, they were all in there, and they're like, "Dude, you're crushing it with this. You're crushing it with Shoupe. We're I don't know if it's a done deal or not, but we're definitely going to talk you up, man." So they all told me they were on my side, and we're gonna put in a good word for me. So that was nice to hear, and to have their support. And yeah, so I mean, that was it. I got to do it, and it was not long after that I was told that I had the role.
I mentioned earlier, like, you've played a lot of the cop roles. Like, did you find like any like challenges like playing this role compared to any other ones you've done?
Yes, and gladly so. Because there's look, I mean, when I play like cop number 2, who's like, "All right, we'll just make sure it doesn't happen again." There's only so much you can put into something like that. And so, yeah, there were challenges just in trying to, this one was just well written, and I had an arc. And so I like that kind of challenge. I think, and all actors do like that kind of challenge, like the challenge is to make a character 3-dimensional and nuanced, and not just just what might be on the page. Sometimes when you read it, you're like, "Oh, okay, this guy's a dirty cop," or, "Okay, this guy's dirty. He thinks a lot of himself." But then you want to layer it, and so I wanted to. And the writers had this idea that he was going to be kind of ethically questionable.
We thought that when I watched it. I thought that
morally questionable for sure. And but I think as the season went on, I think he kind of finds he does kind of find like a true north, and he does. I think he straightens out a little bit. I think I think he starts to see the light a little bit, and and straighten up for Peterkin, and even like start seeing I think he's by the end. I think he's made a bit of a turnaround.
Is there like anything you would change about him if you could?
About I think he'd be a little more on the ball about how he secures the perimeter of a scene. I mean, how many times did he lose John B?
Right.
But you wouldn't have the show wouldn't be what it was if he didn't. You got to have that cat and mouse thing going on.
Who's your favorite character on the show?
Oh man, Uh, I don't know. Um, I really like I like Ward's character because I like what Chip does with that. Just because he has to play that duality. Um, you know the he's he's a dark dude, and
Yeah, he is.
but he's got a he's it's I just those are fun roles when you're playing somebody that's two-faced, and you've got you have to decide how good of an actor your character is, how good at hiding are they. So I think that's cool just because of the complexities of the role. um I really like I like Maddie Bailey's character. I like Kiara, just because she's kind of she's she's an honorary. She's a pogue that kind of came from Kookland, and
Yeah.
but but she has the heart of a pogue, and um, and her family's background too is that they nothing was handed to them. So, but I like her character, and that the reveal, like that she had been tight with Sarah, and then got dissed, and then they had that separation and then reunion. Um,
What do
she's
you,
and I thought she played that stuff really
uh,
well.
what do you think was like your favorite scene that you were in season one
Um,
that sticks out the most for you?
man, just one of the favorite scenes might have been uh well as in the fun of filming it. The um the first time I board the Pogue, the HMS Pogue or whatever, their little boat, and when John B's underwater, and I'm like looking around on the boat, and I'm telling them they can't be on the marsh, and then I pull the kind of dicky power move of like, hey, I'm gonna get on this. Let me look around on this boat, and I do, and it's the tension's building while he's running out of air underwater. That was fun, just because it was a gorgeous day out on the water. You're with, and with the kids who are just all so fun to work with anyway, and our crew. It was just a great day out on the water with a badass crew and cast, and it was fun. That was just kind of my first interaction with the group of kids, where I got to play power cop,
Hmm.
and show my swagger a little bit, but also that was a day where you know some of it I don't think made it to the show, but where there were a few comments made that indicated like our history, that it's a small town, and I said something to Pope about, all right, say hi to your dad or something. I can't, but I don't think it made the cut. But you know they're good. That was a great day. But another really cool scene, just because, was telling the kids that we'd lost when back in the tent,
Yeah.
coming in and giving the kids the news that we can't find John B. I liked that because I got to play. There was a chance for me to play that side of Shoupe that does care about it, and he's not, he did not try to drive this kid into a storm. And I think at that point he realizes that John that John B's not the one, you know.
Mm.
That's how I played it, and I think, and that he realized that, and at that point, the pursuit to get John B was more to get to the truth and to protect him. He realizes that he's in over his head. That Shoupe realizes John B's in over his head, but it's something, and I wanted to show that I had sympathy for these kids, and they all played it so well. I mean, they're great actors, all of them. I mean, Jonathan and Rudy and Madison. I mean, it was just a good, intense scene, and I felt like I could kind of round out Shoupe a little bit, and showing that he actually, that he's got a heart.
Yeah.
Uh,
So we mentioned earlier, like, when this premiere, man, it like in less than 24, 48 hours, it like skyrocketed to like #1 on Netflix. Like
Yeah.
what was the reaction from like your close friends and family after seeing that and watching the show?
Everybody, everybody's excited for me. Um, I've got a good support system, man. I've got great friends who are always, and family who cheer me on. And yeah, everybody was really excited about it. And it's, and I've got, a lot of my actor friends too. Um, where, even though a lot of us, we read for the, sometimes we read for the same roles, like we're each other's competition, but
Yeah,
yeah, but we're also each other's fans and cheering cheering section too. So, whenever something good happens for any of us, we're happy for them. So yeah, everybody was excited.
that's great. That's great. It's like, so how many years total have you been acting?
Professionally,
Yeah.
about 18, I would say. So it has been a long, long road. And it's only, that's why it's crazy for me to look to see like how young the leads of Outer Banks are, and to
Yeah.
see it happening, to see this how quick it's happening for them. And I think it's wonderful, but that's so different even from back in the day, like, Dawson's Creek or One Tree Hill. These shows like that, they didn't drop the season all at once, and so there's this slow build, right, for gaining viewers and fans with shows, on the network system. But now with streaming platforms, everybody can binge it, and these guys are overnight success. So that's amazing. But so for me, yeah, I've been at this, like I said, 18 years or more, and it's only been like within the past like 4 years that I've been able to not have a supplemental job, that it's just where acting's all I do.
That's awesome.
And so that's great. But I mean, it took 14 years of hacking away at it to get to that point. And it's just, when you do get to that point, you're just kind of like, well, I hope I stay there.
You mentioned self tape earlier. Like, what do you enjoy more? Like, or what do you prefer more? Self tape or like auditioning in front of people?
Um, that, God, that's a tough one. I I enjoy auditioning in front of people more. I think that, and I'm lucky that I got in when I started. I got in at a point where that's how you did it. Still, you generally, you would go to the casting director's office and you would meet the casting director and you would audition for them there. And so I got to I had a good foundation to create. It was a good way to create relationships with these casting directors early on, like with the Finn Cannons and with Tracy Kilpatrick and Jackie Birch. It was nice to get in on that at that level. But now, so that's nice because they get a sense of who you are, and not just what they're seeing on their computer screen. And so that could be a blessing for some and a curse for others, I guess. Like if you're an asshole, well, oh well, now they know. Um, but for so that's that's a cool experience. And also, like, in person, if there's something that they want to change, that they'll throw some direction at you, and you have a chance to alter your performance for them. So that's cool to have that opportunity. But that's what callbacks are for. And they do, you self tape, and then you get either they'll cast off tape or you get a callback, and callbacks are a great opportunity to prove yourself in front of usually a director, whatever there. But the advantage of self-taping is you can fuck up.
Right.
You and I do take advantage of that, especially like with these, if you get something meaty, like with a lot of dialogue, it is nice to be able to have a few swings at it, getting everything right, and then reviewing the material before moving on scene to scene, so you can send as polished of a product as you want. And to casting, I mean, you can work at it till you can certainly overthink it. That can be a problem with self-taping, because I've had sessions where I've gone hours just because I'm like, that's not quite right. It's, I could change this beat just a little bit, and usually it doesn't matter. But
have you ever walked out of an audition like that, and like hours later, like you start like like cursing yourself or something like that, like, oh man, I should have done it this way, or you wake
all
up in
the
the middle of
time,
the night just thinking about it?
all the time, yeah.
Yeah.
And and I think it's good. I think that's healthy. You don't want to carry it. You don't want to like carry it around your neck,
Right.
But it's good to, if you're not doing that, then you're not growing. I mean, try to go, I think it's important to try to go in with things narrowed down enough, where you've decided, okay, try this, don't try that. But certainly, I've left auditions like doing exactly what you said, and I've left. I've gone home at the end of a day of shooting, once I've had a job, and gone, damn it, why didn't I? Why didn't I take this moment? Why didn't I do? I could have played it this way. That would have been fun and more interesting than whatever I just gave up and did. I don't know. But yeah, those moments are abundant.
Mm. So like you said, we talked about Outer Banks, how like you worked with a younger cast. You ever had like any of the young cast come up to you for advice because you've been in the game longer?
Not so much. No, Rudy was really sweet, and he had he asked me. It wasn't. I don't want to make it sound like um like I'm some sage or anything, or like the kids. I mean, we were all kind of operating on a peer level, really, on set, and like we had fun together. And but I remember Rudy coming up to me at one point and being like, "Man, you've done this. What am I? What do you got? What do you do? What's your thing? How do am I think I feel like I'm doing this right. Am I doing this right?" And I was like, "Man, yeah, you're doing this great." And so no, I mean, no, but they didn't come to me for advice. Jonas, who's our director most of the time, he and the creator of the show, along with Josh Pate and Shannon Burke. Jonas was very open, and he's just got such a young spirit. So like with these kids, he was very open with these kids, and I'd say kids. That's not meant in any derogatory way. It's just because I feel old. But he worked with them intensively and let them, wanted the actors to come through and kind of and bring themselves to it, and that's a smart way to do it, and they did, and he allowed for a lot of improv. So they had Jonas there keeping them, I'm not going to say keeping them in check, but he's a good director. And so I didn't have much to add to whatever they already came in with. But yeah, I think Rudy was the only one that ever really asked, and I was like, man, you don't need my advice. You're doing just fine. You're doing great. But and my advice is always just so trite. And like I say, well, just believe it. Do you believe it? We have such a cool, weird job. We're all just pretending that this stuff is happening to us and pretending to be other people and wanting, wanting to make it true.
Have they given you guys any timeline when you think you're going to start filming season 2 with everything that's going on?
No, and I've heard rumors. I know like there was originally like someone said maybe they were going to shoot for July, and we still haven't even gotten, unless we have. But the last I talked to Jonas, we still hadn't even gotten the official go-ahead for season 2 from Netflix.
Oh, wow.
And now it seems like a foregone conclusion because nothing's going to have see this kind of success and not get a second season.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, with the pandemic, it's nobody knows what the next thing is, what that landscape of continuing production is going to look like. It's just people are experimenting with it and testing some. There are people that are in production now and making it work and trying to do it safely. So they certainly, but I've heard July. I don't know how realistic that is. I have no idea.
Is there any other projects that you got coming out that you've already finished?
Yeah. Yes. I got to work on the Underground Railroad, which is an adaptation. Barry Jenkins adapted and directed this adaptation of the Colson Whitehead novel about a runaway slave and the Underground Railroad. And anyway, there's like some kind of what do you call it? Magical reality. Anyway, it's a beautiful story. Barry Jenkins, brilliant. And I got to work on a couple episodes of this, and that'll be a limited series for Amazon Prime. I'm not sure when that's coming out. We wrapped that just before the shit hit the fan with the COVID, with the Roni. And then I was working on a Showtime series called Your Honor. Bryan Cranston leading in the lead there, and he's one of the executive producers on that. Really cool, intriguing drama for Showtime. But I was 2 days from going back to New Orleans to shoot an episode on that before production shut down because of coronavirus. So I feel like I still had at least an episode on that to go. But that whenever that happens, I'll be on the show Your Honor playing a cop with a plain clothes though. I'm Lieutenant Gary Cunningham and that thing. But I've got those things coming out. There's an indie feature that we premiered at Berlinale, the Berlin Film Festival, called One of These Days, with the leads are Carrie Preston and Joe Cole, writer director Bastian Gunther. It's a really cool feature. That's it's interesting. So that it was going to go to South by Southwest, and again, that was right before everything. I was just in Germany before all this stuff, like as the coronavirus was brewing, and we got back and everybody was ready to go to South by Southwest, and then flick the switch, no South by. So we'll see what happens with that film.
Cullen, lastly, how can the listeners find you on social media?
It ain't hard. I'm Cullen Moss on Instagram, because that's my name. So that's and I'm on Twitter. I'm not that present on Twitter, but I'm there. I pop in and out. I do stuff. Yeah, I'm Cullen Moss on Instagram, and I think that's what I am on Twitter. Where am I? Yep, I'm at Cullen Moss on Twitter.
Yeah, Cullen, this was fun. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's fun talking.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap, everybody. That's a wrap.
Thanks for listening to the Man Cave Chronicles podcast.
I finally get my man cave.
You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the MCC Podcast and our website, themccpodcast.com. Until next time.